Hello, I'm Rick Lewis with Phenon Hoop Report. In today's segment of Coach's Corner, I have Coach Brett Queen of Hoggard High School in Wilmington, North Carolina. Welcome, Coach.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being on today. Coach, you've had a remarkable record at Hoggard High School. 15 consecutive years you made the state playoffs, and 15 consecutive years you came in first or second in your conference. You didn't play basketball at the high school level. What made you decide to get into coaching?
Well, I'd always enjoyed sports. Played a lot of sports growing up. Played, church league, rec league basketball. Never had the. My dad would tell you that I always said that I wanted to wait until I got better, before I would try out for things, and so just never. Never really, I didn't even try out for a team. Now, we moved to Wilmington when I was going into the ninth grade. And so, it little difficult. Of course, Hoggard was not very good. The first 2 years I lived in Wilmington, Hoggard was 4-40. That'll tell you something about how bad I was as a player, that I didn't even feel good enough about trying out for a team that went 4-40 over 2 years. But, just always loved the strategy. I coached, a middle school level team at my church when I was in high school. Just always enjoyed it, but didn't have the mentality that I needed, in order to be able to have the confidence to go out and actually try out and see if I could play on a high school team.
Well, Coach, you graduated from high school in 1990 from Hoggard, and then also you graduated from Wake Forest in 1994. During your time at Wake Forest, you worked with the girls basketball team. What was that experience like?
Well, it was a great experience, and it was worked out. I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to be able to do that. I was working basketball camps in the summer. Didn't really know how to get into coaching as a career. And my dad and I played in a Deaton Club golf tournament right before I started school at Wake my senior year. And we got paired up with Karen Freeman, who was the women's basketball coach there at that time. And, I asked her during the day as we were playing, what would a guy that wanted to coach basketball but didn't play, and, what would you recommend me doing? And she said, well, why don't you come to work with us this year? And so I did that my senior year, and, great experience. It was a tough year. We had so many injuries. I mean, one night we played at Carolina and we dressed 6 players, for that game. But I learned a lot about how to, how to get through adverse situations. Karen did a great job with that group that year. One of the things I learned was how tough women's basketball players are, because I had to practice against them some, and we had some other students that would practice, and they were a very tough group. But just kind of learning what it was about, and being involved. My first coaching experience like that, being involved at the ACC level, getting to coach at Cameron Indoor Stadium and the Smith Center. And, I realized then that it was something that I wanted to follow, that it really was a passion of mine. And so that was kind of how I jump-started my career.
Now, after you graduated from Wake Forest, you did your graduate work at UNC Wilmington, and you was a grad assistant for 2 years. And you were working under Jerry Wainwright and also Brad Burnell. What lessons did you learn from those? Because, Brad Burnell is now coaching the ACC at Clemson.
Well, those 2 years made up for 20 years that I could have spent coaching at the high school level. I was very fortunate to know Coach Wainwright through working basketball camps at Wake during the summer. And he got the job at UNCW at the same time I graduated from Wake. And so my plan had been, I had to get my teaching certification stuff taken care of at UNCW, and I was just going to go work at Hoggard during that time. But then when he got the job, I went and asked him if there was a way that I could be involved. And, he was, very gracious to allow me to be a part of what they did. And, just learning a lot about the mental aspect of coaching, the mentality that you need, how to relate to players, all of those kinds of things. I mentioned earlier that I didn't have the right mentality when I was going through high school to have the confidence to go try out for teams. And, I learned how to develop that confidence in myself from, those couple of years that I spent working with Coach Wainwright. The defensive mentality, the attention to detail, scouting, all of those kinds of things, just learning, what a basketball program was all about. Those 2 years were just, invaluable experience for me. I can't, I would not be where I am today without having had the opportunity to spend that time working with Coach Wainwright and Coach Brownell. And Coach Brownell was that was his first paid assistance position. And so to be able to maintain that relationship with him through all these years and see how he's worked and grown and developed and gotten to the point, he was in an office down the hall, and now, he's coaching in the ACC for 10 years. So, the work ethic, the passion that those guys had in building that program, taking a program that had never been to the NCAA tournament. And even though we didn't go the 2 years I was there, the foundation was laid there, and watching how that developed, that helped me once I got to Hoggard and trying to take a program that had been successful, but take us to some places that we had not been before.
Well, Coach, you've been the head coach at Hoggard for 18 years, and you've had a remarkable run the last 15. As I said earlier, you've been to the state playoffs 15 years in a row, and you've also finished first or second in the conference for 15 years. What's been behind that success to have such an impeccable record there?
Well, we have kids that really buy into what we're trying to do and really work and understand the work ethic that it takes in order to be successful. We don't have the same kind of high level athletes at Hoggard that some of the teams that we play against do, but we really work at it, and we want our players to be constantly working throughout the course of the year and developing. We really work hard at player development. We do not do a ton of just open gyms where guys just come in and play. We really try to focus our skill development sessions on what do individual players need in order to be successful. We encourage our kids to play multiple sports. I've had as many as 10 players on my varsity team that were football players. That fluctuates. This year we only had one, but like I said, we've had 10 in the past at times. And I think that culture that we have developed at Hoggard, it moves through different sports, and I think that we've just developed a culture at Hoggard that we've got to try to outwork people, because we're not just gonna step out onto the court or onto the field and be able to just beat people with our natural athletic ability. We have to work at it, and we know that we ask a lot of our guys, but that culture is there, and the players help the ones that are coming behind them to understand what it takes in order to be successful and what it takes for us to be able to win.
Well, this past season you were 23-7. You made it to the Elite Eight in the NCHSAA 4A. More importantly, Coach, for the last 8 years, and this is unprecedented, the last 8 years, you won the Scholar Athlete team, and the varsity team had a unweighted GPA average of 3.365. That's pretty impressive. How did you develop that culture as far as blending the academics and doing the books and basketball together?
Well, once again, being at a school like Hoggard helps to create that culture. It's a very high level academic school. Kids are very motivated, and we have emphasized that. I was able to spend some time with Skip Prosser when he was the head coach at Wake Forest, and one of the things that he used to talk about was the ABCs: academics, basketball, and character. And we constantly talk to our guys about the importance of the academic side of things. And if guys are not doing what they need to be doing in the classroom, we'll take basketball away from them if we have to. Understanding that at some point basketball is going to stop, athletics are going to stop for them. You're not going to be able to play anymore, and you've got to make sure that you put yourself in a position to be successful. And once again, it's about creating that culture, and recognizing those students that qualify as individual scholar athletes, and praising that, and the other players in the program wanting to be recognized for that too. That is a varsity award, but one of the things that we do at our banquet every year is that we recognize our JV kids that would have qualified for the Scholar Athlete Award as varsity if they were varsity players. And so just trying to instill that culture in them when they're young. But a lot of it is just the type of student athlete that we have at Hoggard. And it's a great place to be, and the kids work hard. But we try to to make sure that we're emphasizing the importance in the classroom, and the importance of the kids being good role models on campus in everything they do, not just in their sport, but also academically as well. And actually, every single one of our fall and winter sports at Hoggard this year was recognized as a Scholar Athlete team, which is a 3.1 unweighted GPA or higher. And for all of our teams to do that at Hoggard, kind of tells you a little bit about what the culture that we've developed at Hoggard is.
Well, for the 8 years that you've won the Scholar Athlete Team Award in the public school sector of the NCHSAA, you've also averaged right at 19 wins a season. That's pretty remarkable.
Well, I think those things go together. I think it's really hard to be your best in one area and to not pay attention to to what your best is in other areas. And one of the messages that we try to communicate to our guys is that you whatever you are in one aspect of your life, you're going to be that way in other areas too. If you do not, it's unrealistic to think that somebody's going to give everything they have on the basketball court and not give good effort in the classroom. And if they're going to cut corners in one place, eventually they're going to cut corners somewhere else. And so it's about putting all of that together, and realizing that for us to be able to count on you in game situations, we need to see that we can count on you in other situations as well. And just trying to develop the whole person, and I just think all those things go together. I think if you assemble a team full of people that don't care about what they're doing in the classroom and don't care about their character, you're not going to have a very good basketball team. And so we've just worked really hard to have that culture a part of everything we're doing, and not just on the basketball court.
Well, as the old saying goes, listening is a skill. I'm sure the guys at Hoggard know how to listen, but more importantly for you, they're coachable. In the 18 years you've been at Hoggard, what's been your most magical moment as a basketball coach?
From that's an interesting question, and depending on what angle you want to look at that. On the basketball court, we've had some great wins back when we had the regional format. The first time that we won a game and qualified for the regionals back in 2006. That was a special moment. We won at Greensboro Day one year that on a backdoor cut. That was a pretty special moment to win a game there against a program of that magnitude. Some conference tournament championships. We had one 3 or 4 years ago where we beat New Hanover in the conference tournament championship game. Had a great group of seniors, 7 seniors that that was a special moment. One of the things that's always very special to me, and I don't know that we're going to be able to experience in the same way this year is graduation day. We on our wall in our locker room, there's a picture that I've taken on graduation day of our graduating players every year that I've been at Hoggard, and that's up on the wall with them in their cap and gown, either taken right before or right after our graduation ceremony, and just being able to go find those guys, and get them together and take that picture and just think about all of the hard work and time and memories that you've put in with those guys, and to see them finishing one stage of their lives and getting ready to move on to the next phase. That's a really special moment each year, and I'm hopeful that in some shape, way, or form we'll be able to still take that picture this year, so we'll have that up on the wall. But a lot of times when I'm in there hanging the uniforms up, getting ready for a game, looking up there on the wall and seeing all those guys that have come through the program and earned their degree, and that's just a special time.
Well, Coach, you told me that you've been very involved in the church, and you've been the youth church leader for 26 years. And I know following you're a man of faith. How has your position as a Sunday school teacher, and it sounds maybe a little corny to some people, but how's your experience as a Sunday school teacher helped prepare you to be a better high school coach?
Well, I think being around young people not in an athletic environment, helps. I see kids in a different way. A lot of those kids that I've been involved with in our youth group over the years have gone to Hoggard, and so I've been able to see them. The players know that that I'm involved in that, so they know that I have a life outside of basketball, and just learning young people. And learning how to relate to them helps me with my team, because when you're with people, like I said, teaching Sunday school and being at youth group on Sunday nights and going on mission trips and things like that with kids, you get to know them and you get to know how they function and operate. And I think that helps me when I get with my team to understand how to relate to young people better, how to learn how to manage different personalities, because you get that in every environment, and that's no different in a Sunday school class or a youth group or on a trip or something like that. So it's helped, and it's just something that I've enjoyed doing, enjoyed being a part of. Actually, there've been a handful of kids that were both members of our church and a part of our youth group, and played for me as well, and had a chance to go on a couple of mission trips with those kids, and having that kind of experience has been very meaningful too.
Well, Coach, you've been there for 18 years, and you went to Wake Forest, you graduated there, you did your graduate assistant at UNC Wilmington, and then right out of that, you started working either as a assistant coach or JV coach, and then head coach at Hoggard for 18 years. When you think back when you first started, was Hoggard your dream job?
Well, yeah, I would definitely say that, and I got very fortunate that I never had to leave. I kind of thought all along that I would have to leave and go somewhere else, and then hopefully be able to come back someday. But uh, it worked out to where I was able to stay. I spent 1 year as an assistant JV coach, then 3 years as a head JV coach. Sheila Bowles was the head varsity coach at that point in time, first female coach of a men's high school team in North Carolina, and just had an incredible experience working with her, learning how to coach high school kids. Coaching high school kids is different than coaching college kids, and so my background in coaching was all at the college level, and I needed that time with Sheila to learn how to coach high school kids. Had a chance for a couple years to work under Bill Boyette, who incredibly successful high school coach in North Carolina, Carrie and Terry Sanford, and now at Fayetteville Academy. But when Bill left Hoggard to go to Pine Forest, I felt like I was ready at that point in time, but I needed a little bit of luck to be able to get that job, and fortunately, was able to get the job, and it's a place that I have that I've loved and continue to love. Been able to work with great people, and so yeah, it's where I wanted to be. I really, once I got once I got to the high school level, I didn't really have any desire to go back to the college level. I really felt like I was where I was supposed to be, and and then to be able to work my whole career at Hoggard has been very, very special.
Dream come true. Since you've been coaching in 2003, what's the biggest change you've seen in the game at Hoggard, coaching the players there?
Well, it gets more and more challenging with just all of the influence that there is on kids, and the way social media is such an impact in our lives today. And you try to make that a positive thing, but there are negative things about it as well. And just trying to make sure that everybody is focused on now. I think so much right now is and I know that you deal with this all the time with the whole recruiting and scouting and all that kind of stuff, that there's so much focus on what's next,
right,
instead of what's now. And I think that's the biggest challenge, I think, is to get kids to focus on right now. A few years ago, I felt like we did a good job of instilling some values in our players, but we didn't have anything kind of written down that we talked to them about. And so I asked my assistant coaches to try to come up with what they thought our core values were independently, and then we got together and narrowed those down. And one of the things that we couldn't come up with an English word for one of our core values. One of my assistant coaches, Alan Cox, who's been with me the whole time, went to the Greek to be able to get the word, but the word is kairos, and it's the moment of opportunity. And talking about right now, you don't want to miss something that's right there in front of you right now because you're focused on something in the future or in the past. And so that's something we really talk to our kids about is, let's focus on right now. And if you're doing what you need to be doing right now, that stuff down the road, if you have a desire to play at the next level, that opportunity will be there. But if you're always focused on that next opportunity, you're going to miss the opportunities that you have in front of you right now. So I think that's the biggest challenge today, is just trying to make sure that the players are enjoying the experience that they're having right now, and not being so focused on the next step that they don't enjoy where they are.
I would agree. I think sometimes we just don't enjoy the moment. And the thing I see more than anything else is we try to rush things way too quickly, and we don't want them to happen organically. And we just try to push so much and what's going to happen 2, 3, 4 years down the road, and just work hard, have fun, and just let it happen.
Yeah, and this year's team for us, we had everybody coming back from last year. We had all 5 starters back, and there's some pressure, I think, that comes with that, and the expectation. But I wanted the kids to enjoy the season and enjoy the experience, and to not feel pressured. To be able to accomplish whatever it was that, was there something that needed to be accomplished for us to validate our season. And, we didn't talk a lot about, specific things that we wanted to accomplish. I wanted them to just enjoy the process. And I think we did. Right. And then, we did get to the point, this group had never won a playoff game. We had gotten first-round byes each of the last 2 years and had to play really good teams. We had to play Leesville Road with Jalen Benjamin 2 years ago, and then we had to play Panther Creek with Justin McCoy, as our first playoff games each of those seasons. And we hung with both those teams for 3 quarters, but then we lost in the fourth quarter. And so then we hit this year. You got a bunch of seniors. They've never experienced a playoff win before. But I think because it wasn't something that we talked about every single day leading up to it. We enjoyed the process of the season. And then when we got to that moment, the kids played really well, and we were able to win, those playoff games and get to the fourth round. And it was just a very satisfying experience with those guys. But I think a lot of it was because we were focused on each day, what do we have to do today to get better? Let's live in the moment right now and enjoy this moment and enjoy being together one more time. And things worked out really well for us in the end.
Well, Coach, you've been very successful in your 18 years at Hoggard. Who's had the biggest impact?
I would definitely say I can't mention one without the other. Jerry Wainwright and Brad Brownell, just from just teaching me how to be a good coach, all the different elements that are involved in that, the philosophy of how we do things, being a very defensive-oriented team, and being very flexible offensively. Being able to change what we were doing in order to fit the personnel that we have. And the fact that that was back in 1995, 1996 when I was with them, and still have relationships with them today. Coach Brownell and I, talk and text frequently, and I go spend a weekend down there with them before our season starts every year. I get stuff in the mail from Coach Wainwright all the time. I'm in his son Scott is a coach in our league. So the time that I spent with them, not just back then, but over the years since then, as they continue to have a positive influence on me, those two have definitely had the biggest role in shaping my coaching career.
Tough question here. I know you've been at Hoggard for 18 years. Is there any job out there that would take you away from that school?
I cannot imagine, that there would be anything that would do that. I love where I am. I love the people that I work with. I've had several principals and several athletic directors, all of them, great. We have a fantastic coaching staff, great relationship with the 2 football coaches that have been there. In the whole time I've been the coach there, we've only had 2 football coaches, and one of them played at Hoggard. The one that's Coach Craig Underwood that's there now played at Hoggard, and so I've known him for a long time. And it's a great place to be. And we brand new gym was built for us a couple years ago, and so our facilities are incredible. I can't imagine asking for anything more
Right.
in a place to work and coach than what Hoggard provides.
Last question, Coach. How would you describe a Brett Queen coach team?
Well, we're going to play really hard, and we're going to defend. It's something that I'm really proud of is how we have been defensively, and that comes from the things that I learned from Coach Wainwright, Coach Brownell, Coach Bowles, and Coach Boyette. The two high school coaches that I worked for were very defensive oriented people, and whatever we're going to get after it defensively and make it hard for you to score. I think efficient offensively. If you watch the film of the 18 years that I've been coaching, you would see some similarities through the years, but you would also see a lot of different things. We have always adapted what we do offensively to the personnel that we've had. And, it's interesting. If you asked other people, they would probably tell you that we play slow. That we want to try to slow the game down and play the game in the 40s. That's not true at all. Our defense is what keeps the scores of games down. I would love to have a shot clock, but it doesn't have anything to do with the offensive end. It's completely on the defensive end. I would love to be able to, to have our guys only have to focus on, 35 seconds. We had, I bet we had 30 defensive possessions this year that lasted between 50 and 60 seconds. So the game tends to be a little lower scoring because of our defense, but I would always, I always think I can figure out ways for us to score and get baskets, but I want to make sure going into games that we know what we got to do to be able to stop the other team. And so, that's what I think. We have stood for over the years, and the last couple of years, especially, we've been fantastic defensively, holding teams to 44, 45 points a game. But at the same time, we led the league in 3-point shooting and free throw percentage. So we do it on both sides of the ball. It's not just a defensive oriented thing.
Well, you probably get the same bad rap that UVA does. They play such outstanding defense. What a lot of people don't understand is when you play really, really good defense, it makes it more difficult for the opposing team to score. And they take more time off the clock. It's not that you guys are being in a slower fashion. It's you're forcing the opposition to take more time. But the one thing, Coach, I've been really impressed about you and your program at Hoggard in the 18 years that you've been there. You've done things the right way, and you really do emphasize student athletes. And going back to the articles that we've done on books and basketball, how Hoggard has for 8 years in a row won the student athlete award winner, and at the same time you have a 3.3 unweighted GPA as a team average. You're also winning on the basketball court, so you're doing it both ways, and that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, it's ultimately the success is going to be what kind of students, what kind of employees, what kind of husbands and fathers are these kids going to be? And, all of us that are coaching have that desire for our student athletes. And, there's not anybody coaching that doesn't want to see their kids be successful beyond just on the court. But I do think that you have to emphasize that stuff. You have to emphasize that it's more than just what we do in the gym. And, been very fortunate to have players that have bought in to
Right.
that kind of culture. And, I've had I mentioned Alan Cox before, assistant coach that's been with me the whole time I've been there. I've got another assistant coach that's been there the entire time. A couple others that have been there for 7, 8 years with me. JV coach right now, Will Kiesler, played for me. And so we have tried to really instill a family atmosphere in our program, and it's something that has allowed us to experience success both on and off the court.
Well, Coach Queen, you've done a remarkable job, and I want to say thank you for coming on Coach's Corner today. And we want to wish you the best of luck, and hope to see you soon in a gym.
Well, appreciate you having me, and appreciate you doing this for for high school coaches. And I know that you all spend a lot of time and effort to try to help out kids and help them to be able to experience their dreams, and so we thank you for what you do for high school sports as well.
Thank you, Coach.
Uh-huh.